Hopefully, I can help you. I'm a loving father of six children, and I've been married for 32 years. And I too have been fighting CPS for a long time. Um, I've had a terrible experience with them, and I've lost my home because of them. I lost my credit because of them. I lost one child because of them. It's terrible. It's terrible, and I know exactly what you're going through. Now, I'm on here every day, twice a day. Typically, I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning, except on Sunday, I'm here at 8. So that's why I'm on a little bit earlier. Sunday, I look forward to my time with my son. And we go to church and we try the bond. It's one of my children. Um, I have basically three older ones and three younger ones. And the younger ones are the ones that are involved in CPS. It was terrible. It was so terrible. And I encourage y'all to participate in my podcast one of several ways. Um, the first way is you can text a comment to me. Um, when you text a comment to me and um, it's got to be about a CPS question. When I use the word CPS, I call it the Child Protection System. Now, it's a branch of social services. Every state is called something different. Arizona's Department of Children's Services. In California, it's Child Protection Services. Other states, it's Department of Family and Child Services. So, um, when I say CPS, I mean the branch of social services that their purpose, and it's a government agency, their purpose is to protect our children from neglect and abuse, but also when they break our family apart, they're supposed to do family reunification. And that's something that CPS has been missing, is the family reunification. Typically speaking, most of the cases, I wouldn't say all, but most of the cases are an allegation is made, you're guilty by the allegation, whether it's made by a professional or a layman. The only difference between those two kinds of people is professionals. I think I've injured my back. I don't know why it hurts this morning, but the only difference between the professional layman is the professional required by law to report any suspect of neglect or abuse. Lay people are not required to. In fact, lay people sometimes use it to their own gain, meaning that they use it unnecessary. They make false allegations. There's so many false allegations. Furthermore, when the CPS social worker gets the allegation, they immediately have to, within 24 hours, investigate it. Plus, you are guilty just by that assumption by a professional or a layperson. You're guilty. It's the only court of law where you're guilty until you're proven innocent. Every other court of law, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. Criminal, so forth. So you're in a really bad system. And when I say bad, I'm talking about first-hand experience. I've been there. I know exactly what you're going through. Only thing is, I don't know if it's best or not. I'm going through it at the age of in my 60s, and now I'm into my 70s. And it's sad. It's sad because I have young children. There's no law about when a mother and father have children. I'm just very blessed to have a younger wife, 15 years younger, and we were still having children into my 60s. So, she was having a 245. So I'm telling you that you got to be really careful of this system. It's really, 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 really bad. So when you text in a comment pertain to a CP question, please show your name, city, state, or country and can be complete with your CPS case. Now, you probably see the word country. I do have people from around the world that do call in and ask a question, and I help them. We all help them. This room is full of people that are here listening that are helping. Some are typing, some are not. But these countries so far have been Australia, Canada, and Mexico. And then in Europe, we've had United Kingdom, Denmark, and Sweden. Then in South America, we've had Ganza, which is a country above Brazil, east of Venezuela along the coast. Then I have had Africa, and I've had Mozambique, south of Somalia, and north of South Africa, on the east coast across Madagascar. Then I've had Rwanda, which is in East Central Africa, near a big lake. And then I've had Liberia. Liberia is along the coast on the west side of northern Africa. And they've called a lot. A guy named Archie, it's a scouter there, a scout leader. He's trying to help protect his children and so forth. But they believe in the scout program. The scout program, if some of you have not recognized it, it's now moved from Boy Scouts to now Scouts because they allow girls in the Boy Scout program. So now it's just called Scouting. But I'm thrilled to death that we have internationally and from all the 50 states I've heard from. As far away as Maine, far north is Alaska. I mean, there's a guy that had called in, his wife had died. He was trying to save his kids, and he's so poor that he had to sleep out of a tent in Alaska. That's pretty cold. I don't know if you've been up to Alaska, but it's a really cold place. And living in a small little canvas tent, be close to his kids, he's trying to fight to get them back. You parents are making wonderful sacrifices, and you love your children. That's why you're in here. Now, if you do text in, try to be complete with your case. All I ask is that you list the family arrangement, whether this is a grandmother or mother-father, a partnership, a divorce, or the fathers are not interested in children, the mothers are not interested in children. Whatever the arrangements are, state what it is. And then also talk about the children, whether they're special needs children or there are children that have been abused or whatever the case would be. And then you want to talk about your allegations. There are two types of allegations. There's abuse and neglect. And abuse talks about where physical harm is coming into play. Neglect is where the children are not fed, are clothed, are housed, are not supervised, those kinds of things. And that is one way to interact with this podcast. Now we have two people. Faye, oh, good morning. I'm so happy to see you, Faye. Thank you. For all you listeners out there, Faye is a remarkable woman. She's from Richmond, Kentucky. She has 2 children. She lost her daughter, and she's been fighting for years. And she's trying to get custody of her son, guardianship, because her son has special needs. He's past the age of 18. He is in special needs, and she fights and fights and never gives up. But CPS is a very, very hard agency to work with. Also want to welcome Lori Hiller. She has somebody else today that she's recognizing, Yvonne Smith. Now, Lori's been coming on, I guess, since October. She periodically comes on and she puts a name in there, and I guess it's honor of that person. But I do not know where she's from. So anyway, welcome you too. And Faye, if you can, oh God, my back is somehow twisted my back. I don't know what's happened, but it's hurting. I don't know. Anyway, I'm here to help you. I'm here to explain things to you, to give examples, to maybe answer questions. I'm not a lawyer, but there's so much you need to know about CPS. And I'm trying to tell you not to avoid the mistakes that I made. I was very blindsided when I got involved with CPS. I was very blindsided. I'll talk more about that in a second here. Now, besides typing in comments, you can also call in to my show. My office number is 626-698-0990. And you can call into my show and I'll put you on speaker and then everybody will hear you and we can help you with your case. Or maybe you have some ideas that you can help us. But you're able to not only text in a comment, you're able to make a phone call. It's 626-698-0990. Now, the third way is if you want to be a guest on the show. I have a show producer. Her name is Grace. She works behind the scenes. And she helps me with my podcast. And she also helps me with my guests. So if you want to be a guest like me, side by side talking, you can do so. All you have to do is email to my show producer, Grace, at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And then she'll help you get on to my podcast. Now, you guys have found me on Facebook. I'm broadcasting on YouTube. I'm using the StreamYard application. And so she will help you and tell you how to be the guest on my podcast. You just email her at grace at vincentwdavis.com. Now, all you have to do is pick one of the 7 days of the week because I'm on every day, Monday through Sunday. And you just say morning or evening. My morning shows are 10 o'clock, except on Sunday, they're 8 o'clock. My evening shows are 7 o'clock every day of the week. Now, those times are Pacific Standard Times. I'm on the west coast of California and Southern California. I'm close to the beach. Fortunately, I don't suffer as much as you all with the weather. I mean, we do have some weather, crazy weather at times, like earthquakes and tsunamis, and fires and floods. So we have a different kind of, we are having a heat just like you all are. And I feel so bad for you guys with the heat. It's hard to believe that beautiful places are in the 90s and the hundreds. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I heard that Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, was 135 degrees. That is hot. That is hot. So those are the three ways that you can interact. Now, Faye says it's 100 degrees today. Wow, that is a lot. Well, I don't know if any of you heard or most of you heard, did not hear, but we had a very tragic event. And my prayers go out. And I'm not doing a plug speech for anybody. I'm just saying that it's wrong for a person to use violence. And we see that a lot in CPS. We do see violence. We see domestic violence all the time. That's where we lose our cool and we fight with our partner, the partner that we love. You know, it's really hard with life because we're not born with a manual of how to do life. You know, we are created, and God created us. And we believe in a God to help us through, but life can be so unfair. Faye's a good example. She has gone through so much more than I have. And I want to tell her that you are a very special woman and your children are very important to you. And I'm so happy to have met you and have you in my life. Now, I'm going to put the phone number back on because that's probably one of the easiest ways to participate in this podcast. So that's up there. Now, the kind of people that you're dealing with, and I don't mean to be saying they're all the same because I've had one social worker contact me on here. Her name was Carol. She's from Maryland. She introduced herself. I have her last name written down somewhere. But anyway, she called in and said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I work for the Child Protection Services in Maryland." And that she was a horror to hear or appalled to hear that CPS did the things that I was telling them. And she talked to me for 40 minutes, very professional. She said she had a degree in clinical psychology and she had 6 months of training in Maryland. I'd hoped she would recontact again, or other social workers that are listening would call in because we need to hear from both sides. The problem is the images of social worker we have are bad. And one of the first images that I want to tell you about is something called the Pink Ladies. Now, these were a group of 8 white ladies that had over 25 years of social work experience in Prescott, Arizona. Now, Prescott, Arizona isn't a big city, but they have every place in the counties. And that's one thing you have to understand is CPS is administrated by a county that's overseen by the state and gets federal funding. There isn't a federal entity that oversees the state CPS. There is the social services, but they are so inundated. 2 days ago, I went to the Department of Motor Vehicles and social services in one day. And I was appalled at the mass of people that I encountered. And I'm nowhere near the border, but I thought I was at the border. In those 2 agencies in my 8 hours that day, I saw Asians, I didn't see any whites. I didn't see any blacks. And I saw Hispanics. And that's fine. I'm not trying to be a racist by everything. People need help. But these people were speaking a language I couldn't understand. I could not understand. See, we have an open border. And what this is doing to CPS, it's tearing the system apart. You see, when a country allows people in just because they want to go for asylum, they're not required to learn the language. They're not required to learn the government or the history. They are given right away when they come in access to food stamps and health care and schooling for their children. So if the mother's pregnant, she can have a child in the United States at a real good facility, and suddenly that child is a U.S. citizen. Not only that, they get food on their table. Now, I'm really in a tight budget. Faye will tell you that she's in a tight budget. I barely have enough money to feed my family, and I try to take care of my family. I'm the breadwinner. I'm the one that fixes the food. I'm the one that takes care of them. And I still have two of my boys living at home and my wife, and she is really in hard times. The boys are trying to help out, trying to learn things, but they were abused in child protection services. They were abused, and I um, I was really surprised that an agency is allowed to go wild. Now I'm talking about these pink ladies only because I want you all to have a good image of what a CPS worker is. Now, this stereotypically is not the same, but because of your input from everybody that calls in or texts in, you've given me the image. But these 8 social workers decided to get pink T-shirts, and on the front, they stenciled professional kidnappers. Now, what does that message tell you? Professional kidnappers. And on the back, if that wasn't bad on the front, on the back, they put, "Do you know where your children are?" And on top of this, they paraded around at Costco, Walmart, Target, all the department stores to intimidate parents. That's wrong. That is totally, totally wrong. I want to welcome Nicole. Hey, Bob, it's Nicole in Columbus, Ohio. I have a bit of good news. My company CEO met with Executive Director of Franklin County Children's Services, and they're willing to put funding up for our parental partnering program. And just a reminder, we do not work corporate or share only info with CPS. She further says we currently serve 22 families with 3 parent partners, and he would like to see us grow to serve all 14,000 families, or 1,400 families. I'm sorry, 1,400 families. Wow, Nicole from Columbus, Ohio. That is amazing that you got funding and someone that willing to work. So she works at a company, and her CEO met with the executive director of Franklin County Children's Services. Now, the director is your top, and I'm glad to hear that from Columbus, Ohio. Nicole's been on before, and she's had a case. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Nicole. And it's a real interesting program. They say they're taking care of 22 families with 3 parent partners. Oh, the state blocked off the funding for us? That's interesting. Why did the state block the funding? Why did the state block the funding? Why did the state block the funding? I'd love for you to call the show to my number and talk about that. So, anyway, as I was talking about these pink ladies, they were parading around and they did a lot of intimidation and a lot of damage to the images of social services system. They were fired, of course, and so was the director. It wiped out the whole, except one person was left to handle the abuse and neglect. And there are children that are abused and neglect. Don't get me wrong. I've heard of the thousands and thousands of cases of children being abused. We need the social service program, but we need honest people that are educated, that have gone to college, that have done social work and learned about social work. And the ideal social worker to me right now would be a person that gets a clinical psychology degree and a minor in social work. Two degrees. Plus, they go through a certification program, a license, where it has to be renewed every 5 years by taking classes and keeping them abreast of things. Those are the ideal of a social worker. So anyway, the pink ladies are gone. This happened in 2022. You can look it up and you'll see the pictures. It's very disgusting. But it doesn't stop there. Just a month ago, a social worker in Chicago, Illinois, put up on her Facebook an ad. The sad thing about the ad is over 140 years ago. It was an 1848 ad that said black children for sale. This is before the Civil War. But this lady, who is a social worker, decided to put that up on her Facebook page. Why in the year 2024? And again, this lady was a black lady. So I don't understand what her rationale was to put up an ad for black children for sale. It doesn't make sense to me. But that's your typical social worker. That's your typical social worker. Nicole further says from Columbus, Ohio, we offer support to the parents trying to unify in any way they need. Oh, that is a blessing to hear that in Columbus, Ohio. Apparently, they base things off COVID funding a few years ago, and they're in COVID dollars anymore. There are no COVID dollars anymore. Yeah, well, that's true. Funding is an issue. I still don't understand why the CPS lost funding by the state. I don't know why. Um, Faye is saying Kansas, oh, Kentucky, Kentucky Chiefs. I don't know if that's Kentucky Chiefs own employees embezzling money from their own department using other co-workers' names and IDs. Kentucky, what are Chiefs? CHFS. CHFS. Okay. They're embezzling money, which is wrong. There is a lot of corruptness, Faye. There really is. There's a lot of corruptness. Oh, it's the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Now, what is the function for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services? What is the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, Faye? Help me out there. Is that the department that, okay, there's CPS in Kentucky. Okay. They are the agency that are the watchdogs of our children in Kentucky. And the employees are embezzling money. Well, in California, the CPS, which is the agency in California for the Child Protection System, the CPS in California, Child Protection Services, embezzles money all the time. In fact, they get bonuses. In our state, California, they're given bonuses if they, keep the children in foster care. They get bonuses because my social worker, who was only 23 at the time, with no degree, no license, no college education, was bragging about her Gucci purse she got every week, her eyelashes, her eye makeup, her accessories, her clothing, her BMW car, because they were paying her big bucks. Why? It's an $80 billion business that the Child Protection Agency makes. That's how much the federal government pays every state, a total of $80 billion a year. That's more aid than is going to Ukraine. And so $80 billion, that's a lot of money. And I know that my child, the Orange County Child Protection Services, was getting $20,000 per child per month. Per child per month. That's 3 children, that's $60,000. And my social worker bragged about all that. It was terrible to have a young girl of 23. I'm not against young people. Yes, I'm a dinosaur, but I'm not against young people. But no one should have that kind of power to make a decision of life and death matters. It hurts. It hurts with people in CPS cases. They bring you up, they bring you down. They lie to you, they're not transparent, they don't follow through, they lead you on year after year after year. And Faye knows that for a fact because she was in the foster care system 5 times as a young child, as a teenager growing up. And when she had her children, they remembered her and nailed her and took away her daughter and had her daughter adopted by a foster care, by allegations of not proven. See, that's the hard thing that you guys are faced upon. That is really hard. Now, Nicole says they still have support from our federal funder, the National Quality Improvement Center, on the Family Center reunification. Nicole, I'd love for you to call in to 626-698-0990 and talk about this program in Columbus, Ohio. All of you have such valuable information to share, and you've shared it with me in the past. But my social worker at age 23 was terrible. In fact, she was so bad that my daughter, who's 22 now, she just had her birthday on July 9th, at age 12 was directed by my social worker to divorce her family. That means her mom, her dad, her brothers, her uncles and aunts and grandparents, etc., cousins, everything. And then to change her name. And then on top of that, to seal her birth certificate so it shows that she wasn't birthed by us parents. You know how much that hurts? I was with my daughter, my wife with her daughter, every step of her life to age 12. Girl Scouts, school activities, AYSO soccer, the list goes on. We traveled together as a family. Now, Nicole says that was very true. I had to start recording my caseworker because she would make it like everything was good, and then court, it was horrible. You're so true. You read it right to the, you're right, Nicole. I know you've called, Nicole. I just like you to explain about this new program. And there's nothing wrong with calling in. It's just, it adds some flavor to the people listening because, I may have a room full of 40 listeners. Not all of them are making comments. Not all of them are making comments. It's going to voicemail. Hold on. Okay. Oh, I see. Something's wrong again. So sorry. I don't understand. It's this internet thing when I use Vonage here, and so is your code 717? No, that was somebody else. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know why it's not going through. Let me double check. It's on my internet. The sound is on. Okay. You should be able to come in here, Nicole. Okay, you're 614. I don't see. Hold on. 614. I don't see a 614. Please try again. Um, it worked the third time's a charm. Hello, Nicole.
Okay, yep, I got you now.
Yeah, I know you got me. I'm just I'm just really surprised the news you told me, but I don't understand why it's not going through. And she tried to call 2 times, but can you explain about this new program in Columbus, Ohio?
I can. So the Parent Partner Program, in 2019, Governor DeWine did a listening session across the whole state of Ohio, and just going around to all the different CPS agencies and trying to find out what we need in order to rehaul the child service system here, because it's been a lot of pretty bad things that have happened in Ohio. And the Parent Partner Program was one of those things that came out of those listening sessions. And our company that I work for, Sassy, was we won that contract. So we are the ones that are the parent partners that are working for the program. We are working in Knox, Franklin, and Fairfield County. And we are basically a support system to the parents. We offer support. We've all been through the children's services system, whether we've reunified or not. We've helped parents, complete their case plan faster, reunify faster, learn to advocate for themselves. Basically, anything we need to do to help them walk alongside them on their journey. It's not our journey, it's their journey. And we're just a support system to them. And I mean, some of these people don't have any support system. They have no family. I've got a mom that's, that grew up in the foster system, has nobody. And so, some of these people have nobody at all and don't know how to get through the court system, the CPS system. They don't know if they're being told correct things, or, they're just going by what they hear, or scared to, because of rumors or because of things that have happened in the past. And we're here to walk alongside them and guide them. And so again, as I stated, earlier in the week, we were told our jobs might end. We were supposed to have funding for 5 years, and evidently we were told that the state, again, had canceled our funding as of September 30th, and I was told I had to do with that a lot of things were canceled. It had to do with the COVID money that everybody was spending a couple of years ago. Things were based on that, and now nobody has that. And so there's been a lot of cuts. I mean, we were told parenting classes would probably cut down, just all kinds of stuff. We have a triple P parenting that's free for everybody in Ohio to take online for a year, and just a lot of things we're told is probably going to get cut. But again, Children's Services, at least Franklin County is stepping up to take on our Franklin County parent partners, but the way they're talking, I mean, to cover 1,400 families, it would take probably, 50 parent partners. So, I mean, it looks like it's in a good position to grow, and it's worked out good. I think we have had 12 reunifications since we started. It hasn't been going on long. Since February is when it went into, is when we started here in Franklin County. So, I mean, it's working out well, I think.
Well, how are you able to? My question is how are you able to change the CPS social workers' thinking that it's all about money?
I honestly, we have had such a very good response to our program, because we went in and actually we started, with just 2 teams of caseworkers at the beginning, and we've actually went to all of our teams in Franklin County and Fairfield and Knox, and told our stories. And some caseworkers, they've been there a long time, and they're kind of like, the hardest thing for them to grasp is that they can't get any information from us. We're not a service. We're not reporting what's going on with the parent. We're not, we are mandated reporters, but other than that, we're not sharing any information with anybody. And so for some people, that's a little hard to get used to, because they're not used to not being able to get information from people that the parents work with. But other than that, I mean, it's been an overwhelmingly great response, honestly, from the caseworkers.
But I don't understand if they're given bonuses. And I'm trying to understand all the. I mean, we have 50 states right now that have called in, and have had one social worker call in, and I have over 10 countries that have talked about CPS. And the general consensus among all these people, and I've talked to over 500 people, is that CPS is only interested in one thing, is how they make money, and they don't respect your constitutional or your civil rights.
And I agree, and I believe those things as well. However, at least what we're trying to do here is change that. I mean, and
I know you are.
It's not going to happen across the country fast, but at least here, where our program is, we work with legislators. I mean, we've done, quite a few different things, and it's going to take time, but hopefully one day.
There's a lot of bad cases that have come out of Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus on my show. I mean, I've heard them firsthand.
Oh, yeah.
And I've heard about.
Oh, mine. I mean, they were they were going to keep my kids. They were taking me to trial. I mean, trial. And I went above and beyond my case plan. And then, my kids were being emotionally abused by their grandparents the entire time. And my son went to school and showed some marks on him. And they were home in 3 days. We're supposed to go to trial in 60 days for them to take custody from me. And as soon as that happened and got reported to school, they were home 3 days later. So, that tells me that my kids would have been home long before this. Who knows what would have happened if we went to trial. So, I get it. I definitely get it. We've got these deaths. This boy that was found in the sewer, all kinds of stuff. The boy that was locked in the house that died. I see all those. I agree. It's a lot of bad cases in publicity out of Ohio.
Wow. You definitely have said a mouthful there. That's what I say. I'm so glad you're sharing this with us, Nicole. Faye, are you listening to this from Kentucky? Maybe this is a program. I see Faye's a really strong advocate, and she is trying to make changes. And she knows a lot.
And our program is in Kentucky as well. We have an office in Kentucky. Our parent program is not there. Parent partner program is not there yet. But we have, like I went down there to Kentucky and did a conference in April to share about our program. Because another thing we want to do, our nonprofit all those foster parents, and I can say because I've been, taught how to recruit foster parents if I want to, because we get bonuses as well, and we have been told directly from our advisors, like if they mention money, if they're too upfront about money, they are not a parent for us. But one of the things we want to do is we want to help foster parents and these resource families work with our bio families, and let them know you can be such a great impact on these families that are trying to get their children back if you work with them. If you're willing to be there, if you're willing to answer the phone, just different things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of foster care was supposed to be individuals that wanted to help out temporarily, not adopt a child, but temporarily help a child while the parents that maybe have done drugs or maybe were doing drugs or things like that, or they didn't know about how to supervise their children or discipline their children. There are cases, where parents use anger and excessive corporate punishment with their children. And what the whole thing is supposed to be about is to take classes and learn. But the best parents for our children are the biological parents. So foster care people understand that isn't, because right now most of the foster care parents out there look at CPS as an easy way to adopt a child. It's an easy way to get a child, because right now, if you were not involved in CPS and you just want to adopt a child, let's say your parents that can have children, it takes a long time for you to adopt a child that way. It is not easy. That's why so many parents go outside of the country to adopt children. They want children, and they go to another country and to get those. Is your background sound noise? Can that be toned down a little bit?
That may be my fan. Let me see.
Okay. There. I was hearing another voice compete with me, and that's the reason why I didn't want to talk louder. But the foster care, people that want children go outside the country. But the way that foster care is supposed to work is that they are trained and go through training. They usually are a member of or organization that supplies foster care parents to the agency, the CPS agency. The CPS agency is further training them to be foster care parents. But their sole purpose is to take care of the children with dignity and help them be reunified with their family, not to take them for their own needs, not to abuse them, because a lot of foster care parents abuse them. My son was abused in foster care. He was abused in the group home and in the single family home. And he was abused twice. He's a young boy. And see, they love to abuse young children because the young children, they feel, don't have power. And so what you're telling me is marvelous news, because up until now, since October, I've not heard any positive thing about CPS. And now you have an advocate group, and you even have a branch in Kentucky. How would Faye get in touch with the branch in Kentucky?
So our nonprofit is called SASY, SASY. And so we don't have the parent partner program there established yet, but they are working on it.
Oh. Well, she may want to help. She may want to help,
South Carolina, I believe in Columbia, South Carolina last month. So that should be starting there. And there are similar programs like this in other states. I know California has it.
I don't know. In fact, I'm going to. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know that. Is it two?
Yeah,
is it two S's?
Iowa Parent Partner Program.
Yeah, it's SASY. Right.
And it's in every county in Iowa.
Okay. Is SASSY 2 S's or 1 S?
1 S. S as in Frank, Y.
SAF. Oh. In Frank, Y. SAFY. SAFY. Preserving families, securing future therapeutic. Wow. Building communities where youth and families thrive. That's great. Become a foster parent. So is SAFI a foster program? Primary?
Yes, we have foster parents as well.
But it's not primary foster care. It does other things.
Yeah, they have several different programs. They've got school programs, I think, in Lima, Ohio. I mean, they've got several different services that are offered just depending on what state. So I think we're in 7 states: Colorado, Nevada, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, South Carolina, and Alabama, I think.
Yeah, they provide services in Alabama, Colorado, India, Kentucky, Nevada, Ohio, and South Carolina. I don't see California yet, but maybe they will.
Right. Yeah, no, we're not in California, but California does have a parent partner program.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know who it's through. We had an employee that just left that was a parent partner here, and she said the parent partners work directly with the CPS employees in California because she was actually one of the parent partners there years ago. So I'm not sure how all the programs work. Like I said, Iowa, our program is like Iowa's program. That's where we modeled ours from. So they're available in all the counties in Iowa. But I mean, it is something to look into. So
yeah. I'm going to
And I've met some pretty great foster parents that Sassy has as well. I mean, one family we met, and they were asking us for advice on how to work with the bio family. I mean, they had gotten custody of 3 siblings before they even met the mother. And I'm not sure how it all took place. But they have been trying to work with this mother and keep her involved with the children for 12 years. And the mother just gives them, all kinds of grief. She lets the kids go with the mom. She lets the mom's other kids come over. Tries to do anything to keep a relationship going with the family, even though they're legally adopted. And, those foster parents, and the foster mom just gives her all kinds of grief. And like, they didn't know her. Whatever the circumstance was, when they became involved, those kids had already, permanent custody was already taken from mom, so they never met mom. But we've got some pretty great foster families, I think. And I've been through the system, and I was in it as a kid as well. I wasn't in foster care. I was with my grandmother, but those bad things, I totally agree with all of them as well. They all do happen, so I'm not, tooting their horn or anything.
Well, I'm so glad that you're sharing this organization with you. I put it out to all the rooms. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rooms that are listening. I'm joined in.
I mean, my name on here is the same as it is on Facebook. I mean, I'm willing to answer questions. It's hard to communicate anything through comments. Our comments get deleted trying to leave a name, but anybody, if they have questions, they're welcome to reach out to me, or you can always reach out to me.
Well, the rooms that are listening to me is that I have relatives fight CPS, the law office of Vincent W. Davis and Associates, Fight CPS Real Talk with Mrs. G, CPS Defense Strategies, the reality series, the juvenile dependency, and the secret how to fight CPS and win. And that last one it says Mr. Davis's podcast, so he does that one really good. He is.
Right. Yeah, I've caught all of them several times. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember when I first called you and I said that they had children's services that came out to my house and was trying to investigate?
I've talked to so many people. I don't recall. I remember talking to you.
Like, I could lose my job is what I was, I could lose my job if they opened the case. I mean, but it was just crazy. I mean, they came out, they said there was a report made. There was a lady that was my son's mental health counselor that was going out to school once a week. She left me this pissy message talking about how my son didn't want to talk to her, that he wasn't worth the time driving out there and her gas. And then the report got made to CPS the next day. So I'm like, that's who did it. But then when she came out, she was like, well, there was also a report a month ago, and a report 2 months ago, and a report 3 months. It's like, why didn't you come out then? And there were allegations that my son was smoking marijuana with his father. I'm like, it's real. So she came out, talked to us, and I didn't have a choice but to talk to him. I don't recommend anybody talk to them.
Talk to Child Protection Services?
Yes. So I don't recommend anybody else.
Well, it says they're not supposed to, but in your Columbus, Ohio, it sounds like the social workers have changed their mind. Are they still as bad?
Right. Now, so the investigators, I can say, I don't know if they're aware of our program. So we've met with all the caseworkers, but this was an investigator, so I don't know. But, we talked to her, and there was mention on the phone that she might want my son a drug test. I had I had a urine screen here and a mouth swab. When she got here, she said, no, we don't need to. And then 2 weeks later, she's like, well, my supervisor wants the drug test. I'm like, okay. And then she came early, and the day she came early, we had to be at the high school because they skipped them from 7th to 9th grade. And it's like, it's not my fault if you come early. So I messaged her, and I'm like, hey, I'm really, really sorry. Can we reschedule? Never heard nothing from her ever again. And then 3 months after that, because I'm waiting for the letter to get closed. I know they only got 60 days. 3 months after that, I get a call, and they're like, your caseworker refers you for this aftercare program. And I'm looking at it, and it's like, it says it's for kids that are at risk of being taken out of the home, kids that are at risk for going to jail. They wanted to meet with my son twice a week, me once. I'm like, no.
Wow.
So
how did you?
I never got a letter saying case closed. They never called me back. She never said, well, we don't need to schedule it or anything. Or, I've actually been voted on the board of Franklin County, the Community Advisory Board for Children's Services as well.
Now, Franklin County has a board. It's really amazing how CPS is organized in Columbus, Ohio, in Franklin County, because you're the first person in over 500 people that have said something like this. And it interests me because because you're succeeding with people that believe in family reunification. The typical MO of a social worker is to get them into foster care, traffic into foster care. And trafficking is illegal. They also want to alienate the children from the parents, and that is illegal. Those two things are illegal. Now, I live in a community here and a mixture of apartments and big, expensive homes. And I know that there is a mother that had a child, a young mother, and she's living with her mother, and the baby is crying all the time. Now, I know that if you call CPS, they end up taking that baby away.
That's another thing that we're doing here too, and I don't know if that's going to be nationwide, but we were working on a community resource guide, and it's preservation before children are taken, and the guide is going to be once it's finalized, given out to teachers, doctor, everybody in the state, as far as I believe, and it's going to be like a tree that branches out and is going to say, did this happen? If this happened, and the goal is to get people services. and not report them to Children's Services. So that's another change that'll be coming soon.
Wow. Well, I'm going to learn this program further. I'm going to talk to people about it. I really appreciate you calling in. I have my time has run up. My alarm went off, and I have to end my show. But I want to thank you, Nicole, for bringing to my attention this good news in Columbus, Ohio. Maybe it works in other states. That's a positive news. And I'm glad to hear about that. Faye, thank you for sharing your information about the Cabinet for Health and Family Services in Kentucky and that they are embezzling money and so forth. I want you to see maybe if you can find out some information if what Nicole's talking about, safy.org, you can look into that and everything. I'm happy about your good news about what you just said. I'm happy that you have your children. You sound like a strong parent, and that's good. And so forth.
I've been through a lot.
Yeah. And I want to thank Lori Hiller, who talks about you, Jan Smith. So, all my listeners out there, I want to thank you. Please come in tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I love to try to help you all. This is Bob Pace saying God bless, be safe, be careful, and I will see you on Monday at, I'll see you tonight. What am I saying? I got a show tonight to do. I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock. Now, I'll also see you Monday, but come tonight at 7 o'clock and we can talk further. This is Bob Pace signing off.